We can't talk about anxiety without talking about the body. You cannot separate anxiety from your body. Remember, we've talked about this. Like, anxiety is it's like a monster that hijacks your body. You can feel the rush of adrenaline moving through you. Okay? Now you know this. You know this because you've experienced it. Okay. So let's talk about what the body's doing. This is natural. We're humans, right? Remember, we've talked about how every feeling is meaningful. Every feeling is meaningful. We pay attention. We value our feelings. They're signals, they're messengers. I'm going to repeat that over and over because I feel like I have this passion about teaching people to feel, to listen, okay? So when we feel fear, when fear shows up, it's an automatic little radar going off saying something is dangerous. Something is dangerous, and the body preps. It preps to defend. It moves into mobilization. Now, you've heard about this. You know about fight, flight, or freeze. Okay, that's automatic, right? When we have fear, the body mobilizes like a good army, okay, because it senses danger, right? So it either fights, it says, I'm running from here, or I'm collapsing, okay? One or the other. Sorry about those. So, what happens with anxiety, it's fear that's gone amok. And in my groups, I talk about it like this happens also as sort of the repercussions of trauma. Trauma's its whole own thing, so we're not going to talk about trauma today, but it's very likely that as a little kid, you had all sorts of fears, and because we've been untrained as humans, we've been untrained to know how to have our feelings, right? The human race hasn't talked about, maybe, you know who did? Mr. Rogers really tried. There's a lot of people who've tried to talk about, that's why he was so revolutionary in my point of view, because he was talking about teaching children how to have feelings, okay? So when we were little, we would have these feelings, these worries, these concerns. Maybe mom and dad were fighting, maybe we were getting bullied, maybe the closet door was open at night, and we just had no idea what was going on. So because we weren't trained to say yes, to allow the feeling to come up, if you're a parent, what that might look like is to say, okay, I know you're afraid, so why don't we just have that feeling, let it go through our body, and let it come out, right? That whole idea of allowing the feeling to come out. I'm going to teach you how to do that with anxiety as well, and with panic attacks. Okay, so what's happened is that it's fear gone amok because there's been too much fear stored in your body. If we don't allow feelings to transmute, to alchemize, to leave our body, to give it a name, go through the whole cycle of experiencing it and letting it out, it gets stored. It gets stored in our body. And it gets stored as illnesses. It gets stored as tightness. It gets stored in our stomach as indigestion. Okay? Fear, in particular, is massive amounts of energy that, unless we're letting it out of the body, it will get stored in a way that's harmful to us. Okay, that's the other thing. The other thing is that fear will want to leave your body. Okay, fear will want to leave your body. But if we're untrained If we don't have the training, which I'm going to provide for you, those moments of panic, of anxiety, ambush us. Okay? Panic attacks are a fear ambush. Okay? We have a triggering thought, our body reacts, our body responds, bam, we're ambushed. Okay. Chronic anxiety, okay, is habitual. Sometimes there are whole families, there are whole cultures that live in a habitual anxiety. Okay, mom's always anxious, always doing something. Dad is stressed out by work. There's this constant energy in the home. In some cultures, there's fear of danger, right? Of extinction. Okay, so there are not only ancient fears that get stored in the body, and that's what epigenetic studies, right? Sort of traits that come through generations, and those include psychological and emotional states. But also just this everyday contagion of anxiety, of anxious living. Okay, and that can become a habit, a baseline, a way of living in the world is anxiety. Now, I'm going to talk today about both, about this low level, constant and chronic anxiety, but also about when fear slams us with panic attacks. And it takes all sort of forms, right? They're phobias, agoraphobia, which is the inability to leave the house, and all of it starts with a little trigger that sets this wildfire going. Wildfire that hijacks the body. And I know you know this. I know you know this because you've experienced it. Now check it out. The double layer to this is the shame. Because people will say, wait a minute, you were just going up the stairs in the metro. Why did you have a panic attack, right? From the outside, it's really hard to understand when someone has a phobia or has a panic attack in very benign situations, or is constantly anxious to go ask for directions, anxious for students to raise their hands in class, anxious to meet people. In higher cases, anxious to be famous because of criticism, right? Fear permeates our life. Anxiety is certainly can be genetic. The way that I'm going to address it today is emotional and psychological and physical, and some of the ways that we can address it. Okay. And some of the signs, for example, if you see that someone is having a panic attack, or you yourself, because you're going to become the expert at this, is that, someone can glaze over, or their eyes seem very distracted. Their voice can go monotone, heart racing, of course, hands sweating. In my case, when I had a phobia, I had a plain phobia in my 20s, or when I've had these feelings of panic, right? My hands sweat for sure. My mouth goes dry. My heart races like I'm about to die. There's this feeling that it's very hard to understand for people who don't have it, that you're going to die, that this fear of whatever it is will make you die. And ultimately, it's a survival, it's a primal activation of the fear of extinction. We feel that we will become extinct. Okay, so it is a massive primal survival activation. The trick is it's not accurate. It's not accurate to what's going on. When you're going up the metro, when you're walking across campus, when you're in your car. I mean, the triggers are endless, and we can talk about triggers. So, what is the point? The point is we cannot work on anxiety without addressing the body. Okay? We have to address the body. I need you to know that this can and will change by applying this work. Okay? This isn't fairy tale guidance. It actually works. It works wherever you are. Okay, so again, we address the body. Now listen, in therapy and in dynamic meditation, we talk a lot about beliefs and what the triggering thought is. And usually there's a narrative that comes along with the triggering thought. That's not what we're going to address now, because what I'm trying to give you is steps for when you have a panic attack. And if you're having one right now, do this with me. Okay, number one, activate the breath, elongate. Number two, I just allow, and we do this in dynamic meditation all the time, right? We isolate and identify the feeling. Okay? Actually, even though it's uncomfortable, isolate and identify the sensations in your body. It's tingly, it's adrenaline. I had someone call me the other day and just say, I can't stop the adrenaline just pulsating through my body. And he said, I've been doing grounding meditations. And so what I did on the phone with him was do this breath elongation, okay? And so let's do the breath. The second step I'm going to give you is to try and do breath elongations, but with a sound. Now listen, you might feel silly. You might be on a plane doing this. We don't care. Do it. Right? Go find the bathroom. In dynamic meditation, I say bathrooms are our church and our temple, because we can always find one. We can close it and we can have our feelings. We can alchemize our feelings and we can transmute our feelings. Bathrooms anywhere, at a club, at a happy hour, at a staff meeting, anywhere, on a plane, in an airport, go into that bathroom. Okay? So here we go. You're going to breathe in. And you're going to breathe out, making a sound. Now you hear that in Buddhist chanting all the time. Here we go again. Now just the reverberation going through your body is calming. It's calming. If you've ever done that with a crying baby, where you just go, there's something about the reverberation through the body that is incredibly calming. Okay, so again, let's do it. Now notice that we're doing two things there, right? We're doing the elongation of the exhale, but we're adding the sound. And it is, just even as I'm doing it here with you, I'm so soothed by it. Okay, so one thing is to isolate the sensations just mindfully, right? Remember, in dynamic, we say, do you feel it in your chest, in your head, in your stomach? Okay, we isolate where we feel tight, right? And in doing this, we start to join with our body. It becomes the mind-body connection. We start to embody, embody. I use that with my clients all the time. I say, okay, I need you to embody, come back to the body. And part of you is saying, yeah, but the body's hijacking me, it's scaring me. Yes, it's true, and it's uncomfortable, but we're going to befriend it. We're going to befriend these sensations. Okay, we are going to befriend these sensations and these feelings, and we're going to start taming them. This is what I mean by the training of feelings and the training of the body. Okay, massive Jedi training. Okay, so some people say that using the breath actually makes it worse, right? They feel like they're going to hyperventilate. Like in those cases, listen, don't do anything with your breath. Just observe it. Just isolate the breath. Okay, isolate it, and just notice how it's going in and out and in. The idea is to not leave the agitation up here and expanding and going into the loop. We don't want that. So we just come back to the breath. And so step 3 is, if breathing, right, makes things worse, you're just going to mindfully notice it. Mindfully notice it. Breath in, breath out. Breath in, breath out. Okay, be the observer of your breathing. Okay, so we've got step 1, inhale, elongate the exhale. Step 2, inhale, exhale with a sound, with a humming coming out, with the famous Om if you want. 3, if breathing is getting hard, just observe, isolate, bring it back, anchor it by just mindfully observing the breath coming in and coming out.